So President Trump is blaming China, not Russia, for the hacking of multiple U.S. government agencies. Paula Reid reports that the president is contradicting his own Secretary of State and focusing on overturning election results instead.
I think it's the case that now we can say pretty clearly that it was the Russians that engaged in this activity.
Secretary of State Mike Pompeo this weekend attributed a massive cybersecurity breach to the Kremlin. But just hours later, President Trump downplayed the severity of the incident and blamed China, tweeting, "There could also have been a hit on our ridiculous voting machines during the election." President's unsubstantiated theory defies the conclusions of experts inside and outside the government. Senator Mitt Romney said the president has a blind spot when it comes to Russia.
He doesn't want to recognize Russia as the problem they are and the extraordinarily bad actor they are on the world stage.
President-elect Joe Biden's chief of staff signaled the incoming administration could respond with its own offensive cyber actions.
Not just sanctions, it's also steps and things we could do to degrade the capacity of foreign actors to repeat this sort of attack.
But the current White House seems focused on fighting the settled results of the 2020 election. On Sunday, the Trump campaign filed an appeal to the U.S. Supreme Court to reverse cases by Pennsylvania's highest court that changed mail-in ballot laws. And CBS News has learned that in a meeting at the White House Friday, the president floated appointing Sidney Powell, a controversial lawyer who has advanced baseless conspiracy theories about the election, as special counsel to investigate voter fraud in the 2020 races.
So Paula Reid is with us now to talk more about the fallout from this hack and the president's latest efforts to fight the election outcome. But Paula, let's start with this hack. And I almost sort of hesitate to ask you this question because I know I'm kind of asking you to look into your magic 8-ball and try to make some sort of prediction about things. But the president is defending Russia and he is deflecting to China on this hack. His own Secretary of State, as you point out, has said it's Russia. Many experts within intelligence and within cybersecurity say it bears the signature of Russia. Why is the president asking us to look at China instead?
And Marie, there's no evidence that China was behind this hack. That unsubstantiated claim contradicts the assessment of experts inside and outside the government who say this was a Kremlin-backed operation. Now, in the package there, you heard Senator Mitt Romney say the president, he has a blind spot when it comes to Russia. This is something we've seen throughout this administration. The president refusing to acknowledge, even when his own intelligence agencies accuse Russia of wrongdoing, of meddling here, of hacking. He does not want to accuse them of wrongdoing, it appears. Now, Senator Warner, he also came out over the weekend and he said this cyber attack was as broad and as deep as anything they have ever seen. He warned that if this goes unanswered, that we would be inviting additional hacking by, of course, Russia and other foreign adversaries.
So I have learned, since this hacking was revealed, that retaliation is sometimes something that is not considered because there is a fear that you will ratchet up the tension as two countries go back and forth. But you have to do something, right? So what recourse against Russia will the Biden administration consider once in office in order to deter further behavior like this?
Well, retaliation is also something, Anne-Marie, that is not often advertised. And you've seen previous administrations have at times said, oh, we're doing things, but we can't talk about them. But whatever the incoming administration decides to do, this does not appear to be a priority for the Trump administration. The president appears continue to be focused, it appears, on his fruitless effort to contest the outcome of the presidential election. But for incoming President-elect Joe Biden's administration, they will likely want to see a menu of options, things that they can do. And it's important that when they assess these options, we all realize that this is happening in the context that the Obama administration came under a lot of criticism, a lot of scrutiny for not doing more to push back against Russian interference in 2016. So it is unlikely that the Biden's incoming administration would want to appear weak or hesitant in responding to this. Over the weekend, the incoming chief of staff told Face the Nation that they are indeed looking on perhaps some offensive options, things beyond just financial sanctions, and that appears to be, according to him, an option on the table.
Okay, let's switch gears a little and talk about what you just sort of brought up, the Trump campaign's attempts to reverse the outcome of this election. President Trump tweeting, his latest tweet is, big news coming out of Pennsylvania, very big illegal ballot drop that cannot be accounted for, rigged election. This sounds like something actually completely different than his latest legal challenge to the Supreme Court. Let's talk about this legal challenge. He is looking to discount or disqualify mail-in ballots out of Pennsylvania.
That's right. His legal team, their most recent in a string of unsuccessful legal challenges, their most recent move has been to appeal to the U.S. Supreme Court, an earlier decision by the highest court in Pennsylvania, that state's Supreme Court, that allowed mail-in ballots that arrived after Election Day to be counted for a period of time. Now, way back before Election Day, before we knew how things would play out with voting, the Trump campaign kind of identified this specific decision as one that they might be able to successfully take to the Supreme Court in a world where the election came down to Pennsylvania and that the margin was narrower than the number of ballots that came in. They thought that maybe they could take this particular decision by Pennsylvania's Supreme Court to the U.S. Supreme Court, get it overturned, win the election. But we know now, we've seen the electoral math is just not there. And this case is unlikely to be taken up by the Supreme Court. But again, they are fundraising quite successfully off of this continued battle. So even if this is unsuccessful, like dozens of other cases have been unsuccessful, the effort, even though it isn't yielding any change in the outcome, it is yielding a lot of cash, a lot of fundraising for the president and his party for whatever they choose to do in the coming months and years.
Yeah. We also learned this weekend about a big meeting at the White House Friday night. What was discussed?
So CBS News has learned that at this meeting, the president floated appointing one of his lawyers, Sidney Powell, a pretty controversial attorney who has endorsed a lot of conspiracy theories about the 2020 election, appointing her as special counsel to look into these allegations of voter fraud in the 2020 election. Now, it does not appear that that is an idea he's going to go forward with, but that was something that was floated and concerned a lot of people. It appeared to be clearly a suggestion of an abuse of power, appointing a special counsel, someone close to him, to look into a sort of political pet issue for the president. And we also have learned that the president's campaign has sent a memo to dozens of staffers asking them to preserve all documents related to Powell and Dominion voting systems. Now, there is a concern that there could be litigation, that company could sue based on some of the things that she has alleged about the company, and anyone who works in corporate America and many other places. When you get that note or that call that says preserve all emails, all texts about X, you know the lawyers are worried that there is likely going to be a lawsuit, some litigation. So it appears, the lawsuits about the election are coming.
So, I got to think about that one. So correct me if I'm wrong, though. Powell had been fired before by the campaign or whoever she's working for.
She was no longer part of the core team, that Rudy Giuliani and some of the other lawyers who were filing these lawsuits, but she is clearly still in the president's inner circle. And the president has a lot of different lawyers who take on different roles at different times. Rudy Giuliani, for example, was a personal lawyer, but he wasn't directly involved in impeachment. He kind of played a lawyer on TV. Here, though, he's directly involved. He's doing unsuccessfully, I might add, some of the litigating here, appearing in court. The president has many lawyers who fill different roles. They kind of shape-shift. But yeah, Sidney Powell is not officially part of that legal team, but she is clearly being considered by the president for other roles in contesting the election.
So, I'm seeing what the president is tweeting about this morning. And of course, he's doing a lot of retweeting of people who support him, people who are suggesting that he won the national election, people saying that he deserves credit for the stimulus package that will be voted on. I'm wondering if you have any idea what the president's mood is like, because he's had sort of very few public appearances. I don't think he's on the schedule for anything today. What's going on inside the White House in terms of his mood?
Well, the president is really fixated on the outcome of the election, on contesting it. He does believe on many levels, not only is this a good fundraising tool, but he does believe that there was inherent unfairness. This is something that he is not going to let up. It does not expect that there will be a smooth, congenial transfer of power. It's unlikely that we'll see the president-elect and President Trump exchanging gifts or hanging out in the Oval Office. The president's mood does not appear to be conducive to that right now. Inside the White House, there's a lot of officials who are worried about what their next job will be, getting another job. That has actually been a challenge for a lot of people who've worked in the Trump administration. It has been hard to find their next role. But the president, despite the fact that he's leading a nation that is currently swamped by a pandemic, we're currently trying to get people to trust this vaccine. And of course, we have it's been revealed, been the victim of this historic hack. Those things do not seem to be a priority for the president. That's not where his attention is. He's not coming out to communicate with the press or the American people about those key issues. Instead, he's mostly using his Twitter account to rail against and air grievances about the 2020 presidential election.
And that is indeed what I see. Paula Reid, thank you so much.